Greetings in the Lord. Our verse today is from Luke chapter 12 verse 1. Meanwhile, so many people were crowding together that they were trampling one another underfoot. He began to speak, first to his disciples. Beware of the leaven, that is the hypocrisy of the Pharisees. Our verse is drawn from the section of Luke chapter 12, 1 to 12, which emphasizes fearing God rather than human beings. To understand this verse, we need to have in our minds the preceding section, that's Luke 11, 37 to 52, where Jesus was at loggerheads with the Pharisees and the lawyers. The commotion inside and outside the Pharisees' house had attracted a large crowd which was divided, some with the Pharisees, while others supported Jesus. So Jesus' attention was shifted to the crowd that followed him, and they were so much that they were almost walking on top of each other. This crowd and their pressing raised an issue which becomes a possible temptation to the disciples, and that is hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is being one thing in private and another in public. Hypocrisy is when you fail to acknowledge before people your allegiance to Christ. Very often, an effort to maintain popularity easily leads to hypocrisy. So Jesus wants his disciples not to follow the example of the Pharisees. He wants them to be on guard against the leaven or yeast of the Pharisees. Leaven or yeast refers to their teaching and its hypocrisy, which can penetrate a community like the yeast used in making bread. Dear friends, Jesus calls us to constant vigilance against hypocrisy, against the spiritual yeast or leaven that corrupts. Hypocrisy is dangerous because it seeks to impress people, and the desire to impress people often leads to a double life, and a double life is a destructive and empty lifestyle that ignores what God sees. So learn to be yourself and do not live your life wearing two faces. To drive home this warning against hypocrisy, Jesus emphasizes in Luke 12 verse 2 that everything will be made open before God on the judgment day, when our lives will be evaluated by the Supreme Judge. Nothing will be hidden. Every secret will be made known. And because of this, Jesus tells them to fear that being who knows all our secrets. God is omniscient and omnipresent. Nothing that is done escapes his eye and mind. All are subject to him and must fear him. That's why in Luke 12:4, Jesus declares that we should fear the one who has power to place us in hell, which means eternal separation from God, and not someone who can merely kill the body, which means the end of this life. Unfortunately, many of us have lost the sense of fear and awe before God. Our attitude to God and things of God, our behaviors in the church and in God's presence, and our treatment of sacred things and places with levity betray our sense of fear of God. Our fear goes more to those in authority and the rich, as well as those who, through their positions, have become oppositions to the gospel of Jesus. Therefore, Jesus warns us, his followers, of the necessity for courageous testimony to the truth, even in the face of bitter oppositions, as failure to do so is hypocrisy. There are things we can learn from this verse. 1. Jesus wants the disciples and all of us to see that the way of the Pharisees is not the authentic way of life. Number 2, one thing is clear. God knows what we do, good or bad, whether with integrity or hypocrisy. Number 3, hypocrisy is ultimately futile, since all our secret thoughts and deeds will be one day revealed, and hypocrisy cannot survive God's scrutiny at the judgment. 4, as a Christian, do not fear what human beings will do to you or say about you. Your concern should be whether your actions will lead you to God's presence in eternity, or away from God to eternal condemnation in hell. May God give us grace to live authentic lives, and may nothing in life or in death ever separate us from the love of God. Amen. God bless you. Have a nice day.